Thank you, Hussein and Rita, for sharing the successes of the Snapchat journey. I'd like to now welcome our next speaker, Benjamin Ampin, the head of revenue of Twitter in the MENA region, to deliver a keynote on Twitter is what's happening, the next level of engagement by Twitter. Please put your hands together to welcome Benjamin Ampin.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. So Twitter is what's happening. What we mean by that is on Twitter, that's what people are talking about all the time. Can you hear some sound right now? So you can follow at the same time the other conference. So it's just like the future of conference where basically there is two conferences at once. So use each side of your brain. Should we carry on or should we wait a little bit?
And the banks.
That's amazing. That's the first time he does that to me. Look,
we are no longer in the business of making money.
Still going to try to go ahead. Can you still hear me at least when I speak more than the other? Or maybe it's just Hussein trying to play with me. I don't know. Anyway, so look, I'm really happy to be here. It's been just a couple of months I was here. We're already working with a lot of top partners and top brands in the country. When I was saying that Twitter is what's happening and what people are talking about, there is no such thing as what's happening on Twitter stays on Twitter. I think you know that when we say it's what's happening with, culture, with entertainment, with news, with politics, but also with ArabNet Kuwait. You go on Twitter right now, you check the hashtag ArabNet Kuwait, you'll see all, what happened yesterday and what's starting to happen today. So when I'm telling you about this conversation on Twitter, it's a lot of conversation. So every month, we're talking about 1.6 billion people who are exposed to tweets. That's a lot of conversations, right? And if we have a look at the region, in the past couple of weeks, a month, let's have a look at a couple of examples. First, this big announcement in Saudi. In just 24 hours, 1.5 million tweets about that. That's what's happening. People jump onto the platform to discuss what really matters. Any football fan here in the room? Yeah, so I'm sure last night, you had a good night. There were some good matches. UCL, for those that don't care about football, is UEFA Champions League. Same thing here, during the early matches of the season, 5.4 million. And if you don't like football, maybe you've spent a great summer still in front of your TV to watch Game of Thrones, yeah, some Game of Thrones fan here, and look at that. Since the beginning of the latest season, you've seen 18 million tweets in the region about Game of Thrones. So we could go on and on about different topics, different industries, different verticals. There are also things that are definitely less mundane. Customer support. That's the level of conversation we're seeing on the platform since the beginning of the year. The reason why I put that out there is because I'm going to talk about customer service and how you can go from customer service to very sophisticated interaction with your brands. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I just want to share with you some trends that we're seeing online, obviously, but particularly on Twitter, and how from this relationship to customer to brand, and then brand to a customer, this very specific engagement. A lot of people talk about engagement. Engagement is so multifarious that I wanted to concretely show you how this engagement today and tomorrow is evolving online and on Twitter specifically. So let's talk about, from consumer to brand to start with. The very, very basic, engagement style when it comes to customer to brand is customer service. And remember the level of conversation I told you about just before in the graph. This is a conversation that as brands, as marketers, you cannot ignore. So this is not a Twitter number. This is every month on social media, the number of online shoppers that go, online to talk about, their experience with brands. And here, who has ever been on Twitter because you had a problem with, I don't know, Zane or, NBK, or I'm not saying that these brands have problems, but it's just showing that it's a great place to talk about, the challenges that you have sometimes. So when we have a look at Twitter and customer inquiries year on year, we've seen, almost a ×2 number of inquiries for people to come on Twitter to engage directly with brands. And for brands, it makes a lot of sense because that's a McKinsey study with Forbes here, and it makes sense because that's the least expensive channel when it comes to customer care to go on social compared to the good old phone, the phone centers, or the call center, or just having teams dealing with this problem every day. And now back to Twitter. When you think about it, when you think about all the platforms, you go on each of these social platform or video platform or camera platform, digital platform basically, for a certain purpose. What is really interesting is when it comes to Twitter, most of the people go on Twitter to engage directly with a brand. That's one of the reasons why people come onto this platform. As I said, I'm sure you've already been on the platform to talk to a brand directly. And unlike other platforms, most of our users actively engage with brand on the platform. I'm sure all of you, even if you're not very heavy Twitter user, at least one of your interaction has been talking to a brand about, just for a simple question, an issue, or because you wanted to know more. When we had a look at the results, these kind of things are extremely interesting because whatever the industry, airlines, telco, or fast food, you can see that someone that has had an interaction with one of the brand when it comes to customer care is likely to spend more after when they engage with the brand and when they buy one of their services. So cheaper online, cheaper on Twitter, and with better, a higher propensity to spend. So that was just customer service, and you're like, okay, but customer service is not new, etc. But still, a lot of brands in the region are not doing it properly, we think. But what I want to tell you about today is how sophisticated you can get using all these insights and using this conversation about customer care. Two things here, chatbots and net promoter score measurements. And that's things that have just rolled out on Twitter, and we're just starting to experiment in the region. The region, so MENA, is extremely important for Twitter, and the example you have on the big screen here, that was the very first chatbot globally in the automotive industry. So what is a chatbot? You just take the very good old, customer service principles, but you take them to the next level. Let me give you an example. Samsung Australia did that recently in a very, very specific case. They basically wanted to get information about their customers to know about QLED TV and what kind of TV, what kind of accessories their users wanted. What happens on Twitter, you see a tweet or you go on the profile of Samsung Australia, and when you click on this button, find your ideal TV, your screen explodes. Can you put back my screen on, please? So that's not what happened in real life. Twitter is extremely stable. So when you click on the button, it takes you to a direct message. That's what we call a chatbot. And you can see there's already built menu here where you can choose, and that's the brand that has decided to build this tree of decision, and you can give information to the brands. So in that case, that was extremely useful for Samsung to know exactly the kind of TV the user wanted, because I don't know if you ever tried to look for a TV, but it's pretty complicated and it's really specific to your own situation. So think about it. This whole conversation started from a public platform to the direct message, so it's personal, and it helps a lot Samsung Australia, because that's an example of all the data they captured in the process. You know, who the people they're talking to are, what kind of model they want, what kind of accessory. So it's a lot of data that you can basically get from the user, and obviously that the user is willing to share. When we have a look at the results, some fascinating findings here. Basically, we see that people spend more time on this chatbot than on Samsung very own properties, like their websites. The cost of the lead, far less expensive than anywhere else. And when you have a look at the completion rate of the bot, that's always a problem. You know, you're like, yeah, we're going to bring someone somewhere, but they're not going to engage. Well, it was close to 90%. So that's an example about TV, but you can imagine it, you know, for many other industries. And the good news is that a lot of innovative brands everywhere in the world have already started jumping on this trend. So Pizza Hut, you know, you can just basically order a pizza using a chatbot. Air Europa is an airline in Spain where you can actually check the time flights of the plane you've booked. You can actually book online, and I know that they're working right now to get even more details, where basically from the bot you could check in directly. And Starbucks, you know, using it based on your personal situation to give you some special discount or offers. So the sky is the limit. The team is here. We work with some technological partner to help you build these things, but that's pretty big. The next big thing that is happening is customer care is great, interaction, you know, in chatbots or anywhere else is cool, but how do you measure that? And how do you use a public, open, and conversational platform as Twitter to rate your interaction? So we've just introduced a way to measure this one-to-one interaction with Net Promoter Score. And so now, when you've given customer service, or you engage one-to-one with your users, you can basically ask these users to rate the interaction they had with your agent or your bot. So we did that in the region with Karim. So for those of you who don't know, Karim is basically a taxi booking app. And so when you go in the direct message, after you've engaged with an agent, you have these little, you know, graphs here that appear, and on top of it you can also add some qualitative comments. So it's very simple, but it's a way for Karim to immediately see how the customer service team are, you know, performing. So if you represent, you know, companies like Viva, Zain, or, you know, NBK, or any basically companies that has relationship with customers on a one-to-one basis, that's a great way to engage. And look at that. I'm sure if you specialize in customer service, you can see these numbers of completion versus number of service sent are really, really high. And the good news for Karim, no surprise, is that actually the average score was pretty high. So that's the kind of thing, you know, that we're seeing happening, this customer service taken to the next level. And why it makes sense on Twitter? Because it's cheaper, and obviously most of the users come on Twitter specifically to engage with brand. You know, when you come to a platform to engage with maybe your friends and family, you may not expect just a display banner ad or a brand talking to you. The second thing that we're seeing, I know there are a lot of marketers in the room, your objective still hasn't changed, you know. Your objective as a marketer to have an impact, to influence customers is still the same. But what we're seeing now is the landscape is changing, and video is everywhere, you know. Think about the speakers that you've seen today, or you're going to see, a lot of them are talking about video. And an e-marketer, you know, is just putting it pretty clearly. Most of the 18 to 24 today will watch digital video at least once per month this year. And about this stat, what is important is that the generation that is coming, that's people that are not watching TV too much or stop watching TV, but there's also another generation that basically is never going to watch TV the way that we were watching TV. So that's why digital video is extremely important to recognize as a trend. Good news is most of the marketers have noticed that, and you can see that the money is already flowing into this field, and with good ROI. Why? Because video, and we have some data about that. Video is easier for your brain to encode than only text. So video is happening on Twitter as well, and for some of you that haven't been on Twitter for a long time and may think that it's still 140 characters or to 80 characters, that's what video on the platform looks like now.
Where does Manning go? To the corner. Pass is caught for the touchdown.
You are my best friend and we've got some things to do.
And you're watching AM to DM, a new live morning show from BuzzFeed News.
That is right, baby. Every morning, we are going to bring you the hottest conversations blowing up your timelines in real time.
Nothing comes before coffee.
More than 60 million people watched a heartwarming video of a son reuniting with his mom after spending 10 years on different continents. This is what happened.
Jeffrey!
So in the next 5 minutes, I'm not going to take you through all our video products. I just wanted to do a focus on, why? Because there's this great content and a great conversation happening on the platform through interactive ads, through, exclusive programs, or live programs, or TV show highlights, why it makes sense for marketers to use video to be present. That's the number of video views we're talking about. So that's huge, and it's growing. Someone's taking a picture, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. Good. Yeah, got it. Cool. That's a huge number of video, and so for you as marketers, how can you be what's happening? We talked about jumping into people's lives. That's the dream of any marketers. You just don't want to put your message here in an irrelevant way. So think about the mindset of the user even before choosing your platform. When you go on a very famous video platform, you go there because you know the video that you're going to watch, right? When it comes to Twitter, when we had a look at our users, we have what we call this discovery mindset. It's basically people that are interested in a specific topic and come to Twitter not to kill 5 or 10 minutes of their time, but because they want to know more about what they're interested in. And as a result, people are much more engaged, again, because they are in this discovery mindset. There are video solutions on the platform to achieve your result. As I said, I'm not going to take you through all the products. I just wanted to focus on 2 relatively new products. Some of you may not have heard about it. One was announced yesterday for all advertisers globally. So we're just going to focus on the purple bits and the red bits. So in-stream video to just align your messaging with the interest points of your customers, and promoted video to really deep dive in topics that interest your consumer base. So the first one is take all the great content, the premium content that is on Twitter, and align your message to it. It's how you create brand association. Look on the right. You basically have a tweet from the NBA, which is the best content out there for basketball. And just before the highlight is showing, because you're interested in basketball, there's an ad for Kia. As simple as that, So that's what we mean by in-stream video ad, is how you can take your advertising content and bring it to something that makes sense to the message that you're trying to push. What is important to note here is you have 2 ways of buying it. So this bit is already available here in the region. We bring you the best content on the platform, and when it's relevant, we talk about Saidati, we can talk about Fatafit, Abu Dhabi Sport, Bein Sport. You can basically bring your message and put it in front of it in form of a pre-roll. This is going to be launched really soon in MENA. It's basically when you're going to be able to not choose one publisher, but a whole category, a whole audience. If you're after technology, you could just put your ad anytime there's one of the premium content publisher putting a video. And the way it works, exactly the same that you saw before. Coke before Bloomberg, for example. because Coke has been choosing to be around the financial news category. And in-stream sponsorship is just one publisher. It's usually more about big events. In that case, this is a live stream happening by Live Nation, and you had an ad just before. So that's, how you can engage with video and you would get results. And as I said, it's not just about the NBA. It's not just about Live Nation. It's about more than 25 partners that we have in the region, and this list keeps on growing, where you can basically choose one of these partners and bring your content close to it. You're interested in women interest, we can build on a custom package with Saidati to basically bring your ad before any content they would create for you. The last bit, I promise, I see some people looking at me, frowning, but Hussein talked a lot. He talked a lot. So anyway, simple promoted video. I say simple, but it's constantly evolving. So basically, this one is more about being laser targeted based on interest. Think about it. People come onto Twitter because they're interested in very specific stuff like politics, entertainment, and very niche things. You can basically target these people and put your video format there. So that's as simple as it works. But what I wanted to show you is how things have been evolving on Twitter, because now you can use video to drive action. I'm going to tell you more about this format because this is the brand new one. You can use the very nature of Twitter that is conversational to start a conversation where, using a video, you can just share it with all the followers. So your brand is basically what is happening, and you are not just putting a video that is irrelevant to no one. If you have a live streaming happening through the integration of Periscope, that's something you can do. Airbnb has been doing that as well. So imagine ArabNet right now could do an amazing campaign showing live what's happening right now. And finally, just a simple video carousel. If you want to tell a story through different video, that's what you can do. So you can do a lot through video now, and that's especially the case on this brand new format, as I said, that we announced last night. So I'm really happy with the timing of this conference. What we do with this video website card is, when you have an ad, in this case for Apple, with a video, the video is playing, and when you click on it, you have a preview of the website appearing directly without leaving Twitter. And while the site is loading, the video is still playing, so you're not losing anyone in the process. And what is interesting here is that you can adapt it to your objective. If your objective is to drive action, you will be paying only for a site visit. If it's about awareness, you'll pay only for a video view. Same format, but different marketing objectives that we recognize in the way you buy. So this is now available for everyone. Promise. I'm concluding now. So look, as I said, oh wow, nice, I'm censored now. If you can put back, thank you, your screen. So again, we'd love to have another conversation with all of you in the room here. The message is that these things work. We have a lot of data showing that across the funnel, using video on Twitter is extremely powerful to push your message, whatever your objective is, driving direct response or building awareness. And another question, and I'm super happy that Hussein talked about it, that is on everyone's mind, is how safe, and who's watching your video on Twitter. So we're working with, many partners in the industry like Moat, and we can tell you clearly that that's humans that are watching the video on Twitter, as you can see, 99.8. And the way you buy as well, we want to make sure that if you want to buy based on industry standard like MRC, you could buy like this on Twitter, so that at least your investment is safe and you know who's watching it. So, talking about video and finishing on this, Twitter is growing like a video platform, especially in the region. Saudi and Kuwait are leading the way when it comes to video consumption per monthly active user globally. That's numbers that we see. It's phenomenal. So if you're a marketer, you have to use video. The audience, because of the discovery mindset, is an audience that is different than another platform, or at least that is on Twitter for different things. And as I said, plenty of data to show you the impact on the different metrics. So that's it. I know that the team is relieved now here. Look, I'm going to be around for a bit more. And the message is just that if you start with data, having a look at user behaviors, what we saw today, people coming onto specific platform to discuss directly with brand, or using different kind of formats to be influenced by you as marketers. If you choose the platform right, and this video can be Twitter, given the increase of customer care and video, then you would be winning online. Thank you very much, guys.